Welcome back, everybody. Mark Drumheller, Dave Gleckner here. NFC Championship preview powered by the Sharp app. Make sure you download the Sharp app, and the free link for the Discord is in the description below. Join the gambling community, guys. It's a lot of fun. AI prediction models and everything you need. Educational tools, all the action is in the Sharp app Discord. So make sure you hop in there. For the rest of the NFL playoffs, Super Bowl is going to be a ton of fun. There's going to be a ton of props in there. And then, of course, we have, numerous professional handicappers in there hitting every sport. So make sure you hop in and join us. But Dave, let's get into the action. We got our gear on. Obviously, we are from Philadelphia fans, but we're going to try and do our best to give an objective preview here about the NFC Championship, which I think is going to be another outstanding game in the sense that these two teams, this is like power against power, man. It's like, you look at San Francisco and how they want to win. They want to win with the running game. They want to win with the pass rush. Eagles, number one rushing attack in the NFL, have more sacks than anyone in the NFL by, I believe, 19 sacks. And, again, they have 4 players on that defensive line with 11 or more sacks. So just killers from a pass rush perspective, killers on the ground game. It's going to be best against best. So it's almost like a tug of war to kind of see who wins, see who's stronger. Let's get right into the action, Dave. How do you see this one going?
Well, it's a great matchup, and it's fantastic. It's exactly what the NFL needed, exactly what the NFC needed. Last year you got, San Fran and the Rams, nice matchup, but I think they were 4 versus 5 or 4 versus 6. It was something that was, probably not, in anyone's mind at the time. No, this year you get 1 versus 2. You got number 1 defense versus number 2 defense. You have 2 really dynamic running offenses. You have the creativity between Shanahan and Sirianni. It's a great matchup. And I look at it like, similar to what you said, we know these two teams like to dominate at the line of scrimmage. The defensive line of the Eagles setting that great sack number that they had this year was 70, but also you got Bosa on the other side who can, he can get 4 or 5 himself if the time's right. Probably not against this Eagles line, and then you got Fred Warner on the next level, who is just absolutely fantastic. And it just lines up to be, in some ways, strength versus strength, right? Eagles, great running team, San Fran, great running defense. But there's some other matchups that I really like that we'll get into here, which may show an added advantage to one particular team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Eagles. I laid the 2.5. I got the late line. Some of our professional handicappers were all over that line when it dropped, but I got the 2.5. I was actually on air traveling home, and then by the time I got home and back in state lines, it was 2.5. So got stuck with that one, but I think they're going to be fine at that number. I think the biggest advantage for the Eagles is when you look at this 49ers defense, we talked about the strength being the pass rush. And that pass rush kind of masks their deficiencies on the back end. Absolutely. Very vulnerable to explosive plays. By the way, the Eagles, second in the NFL in explosive pass plays with 63, only behind Kansas City this year. So that meshes well. If Eagles are going to be able to give Hurts protection, he's going to carve them up with big plays early in the game. And I think that's going to be trouble for this San Francisco defense because against most teams, their pass rush makes up for that, right? But this isn't most teams because the Eagles have the number 1 pass blocking offensive line in the NFL per PFF. And like I said, the offensive line, just everyone made the Pro Bowl, is either a starter or an alternate. So I don't think they're going to be able to get pressure like we've seen them get pressure. And I think that's going to allow the Eagles to get big plays early in the game in this matchup. And that's going to be a problem for San Francisco because then, Purdy on the road, conference championship, rookie quarterbacks are 0-4 in this spot. Now he's got to do it in Philadelphia against an attacking, aggressive defense that sacks everybody a million times. It's just a real tough spot for Brock Purdy, I feel like.
Yeah, you're right. And the key that let me start with your starting point. And that's where I was getting to with advantage, disadvantage. The San Francisco defensive backfield is an absolute mess, one of the worst in all of football. So for all that, we can glorify them up front, it's a sieve out back. Let's look what they did against number 1s just recently. CeeDee Lamb, 10 for 117. DK, 10 for 136 and 2 tutties. These are the last 2 weeks of the playoffs. Then we even roll it back in the regular season. Devontae goes for 7, 153 and 2. Tyreek Hill had 9 for 146 in December against them. They've let up 8 100-yard receiving games. They've led up 8 games of 9 receptions or more to number one receivers. They had one game where Juju and MVS both got 100 in the game against the Chiefs.
Yep.
It's give it a little bit of time. AJ Brown will get 100. He's one of my bets I've already put in. I think his receiving prop, when I got it, was 70.5. I think Devontae could even pair up with him. It's going to be that good on the outside. The difference in this game will be kind of what you said about Purdy, because I believe the Eagles will move the ball and I believe the Eagles will score. Can this Eagles defense, which once in a while has shown some vulnerability, you got teams that could hold on to the ball like Dalton and like, what they did in Washington against the Eagles. If they're able to hold on to the ball with a power running game, it opens it up for Purdy a little bit, and Kittle and Debo in the slants over the middle. He will not beat you on the outside. He will not beat you deep. But if he's able to play action and roll a little bit, because the run games, San Fran could put up a little bit too. So that's going to be the key for me. Getting to Purdy and being able to keep that running game at bay. And when Jordan Davis is in the game, Eagles are fantastic at stopping the run.
Yeah. I think that's kind of underrated part of it. I think that, since Davis came back from injury, the rushing defense has been nails. Now, listen, it's been about, since he's been back, he played the Giants, he played the Saints. Yeah. Like, it hasn't been, Dallas. Like, it hasn't been murderer's row, but he does make a big difference. I think we saw that early in the season. I agree with you, 100% on AJ Brown. I think it's going to be a huge game for him. And I just think it's the game script hurts him. Like, the Eagles are the number one, first half scoring team in the NFL. So they jump on top of you early. And, it's one thing to say, well, Bosa and San Francisco has this great pass rush, but it's hard to really be effective rushing the passer when you're up against the number one rushing offense in the NFL, the number one pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. Like that's how you beat a pass rush, right? You always say you beat it with the running game. And I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Philadelphia's running game. They put up, I think it was Nate Tice put it out there. They have the 5th highest rushing success rate in the past 2 decades this season. So, they were number 1 in rushing EPA. So it's not like just they're a good running game. Like, they're a much better running game than San Francisco, much better. Like that part is not necessarily close. So, you have the stronger, rushing attack. You have the more explosive plays on offense. You have, a better pass rush with the Eagles. The Eagles are a team with a better pass rush. They're the better secondary. Not going to say it's going to be a walk in the park. San Francisco is a tough team. But I think the way these matchups lay out, it does lean to the Eagles getting off to a big start. And that is like the worst possible thing that can happen for San Francisco.
Absolutely. Drums, we did a show, and we've been doing it for the past 3-4 years on college football, Saturday mornings, betting for breakfast, and we've seen plenty of Brock Purdy. Do you think this Brock Purdy that you've seen in the NFL is what we tried to bet against in college? I do not. I really think this is an aberration.
I think it's a little bit of two things, right? So it doesn't look great for Matt Campbell, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
and it does look good for Kyle Shanahan, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I think the reality is somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't think Trey Lance is definitely out in San Francisco. Like,
no,
we'll
I
have to
don't
see
either.
how things go. But I think that when you look at Purdy and you look at this winning streak, which is tremendous, 12 straight games. I mean, that's just unbelievable to do in the NFL. But Purdy's played 2 games on the road. He's played at Seattle on Thursday night, where he didn't have Debo, and they won by 8 points against Seattle. He looked okay. And then that game against Vegas, where he looked good offensively. The team didn't look great, but he looked like a different quarterback when he was under some heat against Dallas last week. And I think that's the key. I think like we saw a little bit of the real Brock Purdy last week. And he looked like a rookie against that Dallas pass rush. And, we have 19 more sacks than Dallas. So like, as good as like Dallas's pass rush is, we're on a different level from that perspective. So he's going to see some stuff he's never seen in his career, in this game. And, your point about the explosive plays on the back end, Dave, in that Vegas game where they played on the road, that was their last road game. Vegas had 4 players that had receptions of at least 20 yards.
Yeah.
So like you get chunk plays on this secondary pretty easy. And I think that's going to be the big problem, because the pass rush isn't going to be able to get home early to mask that secondary. And I think the Eagles are going to come out very aggressive, while Shanahan, I think, might come out a little conservative with Purdy, knowing he's in such a crazy environment.
Yeah, agreed. So I think we're both on the same page here. I do respect the heck out of the 49ers.
Sure.
but I also know they lost in this situation last year. It's not like Kyle Shanahan's unbeatable. I think the matchups are just too good for the Eagles here. The Eagles probably have a tougher job against either Chiefs or the Bengals just because of the way they can spread out the Eagles. But in this one, I just
I'd
think
rather play the Chiefs, but
I would.
yeah, I would
Buffalo's the
rather
one
play.
I wanted to play because
I don't want that defense. I don't want to play that Bengals
no.
defense. That Bengals defense is a lot better than people give it credit for. But before we wrap up and get out of here, Dave, real quick, if people are on the Niners, what do you think like the best way to bet it is? You think it is to tease it up and try and grab the dog on the other side? Like I don't like teasing these conference championship games because I feel like when these teams get down, they kind of just have to go YOLO, and then that leads to it could go the other way. You know what I mean? Like we could end up, you could end up the game that might show on the scoreboard looked a lot less competitive than it really was because when it gets to the end, teams are just going to throw the kitchen sink and get desperate. But I mean, if I like the 49ers, it's almost like, do you tease it? Do you bet it live? Like, how would you attack it? I'd almost look to bet it live. We talked about the Eagles getting, up early, how that's like a likely game script here. So you're going to get you might be able to get, 6, even you might be able to cross the 7 at some point in the first half.
Yeah, I think there's a few ways I would look at it if I'm on the side of the Niners. I like the live bet idea. And I'd like to look at any props that, take into account turnovers. The Eagles 14-3 this year, 15-3, given the playoffs. 2 of their losses, they turned the ball over 4 times. So if they're going to lose a game, it's going to be because San Francisco is doing something defensively. So I'd look at Hurts's interception props and try and bet on those because that's really, in my eyes, I don't think San Fran wins a shootout here, but I think they could win a defensive battle where they're creating turnovers, holding the Eagles tight in the red zone. So that's where I would lean, and also live bet. I like the live bet. Total, I'm not like, here's the thing about the total, and you probably know this. When number 1D and number 2D play, it goes over. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A lot higher than even others. So I think you can go over with either a Niners win or Eagles win, but I would look towards the turnover differential if I'm a Niners.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can kind of look at that. I also like Debo props. Like I do think Debo's going to get his. They're going to have to get him the ball with, quickly, especially if he's under pressure. And not only that, they're going to look to get him involved in a lot of different ways because they're going to have to get creative and they're going to have to try and play against Philadelphia's aggression on defense, right? So again, we talked about it last week with the Giants, Barkley, you got to do misdirections, you got to do that kind of stuff, screens, all that stuff. And I think they'd rather have the ball in Debo's hands than McCaffrey's because he's much more of a playmaker and I think they're going to be down and they're going to need points early. So very interesting stuff. Guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We will be back next week with, all Super Bowl stuff, getting ready for the big game. We're going to have 2 weeks to hit it from every single angle. So, like I said, make sure you stay with us. Hit the like and subscribe button at the bottom. The link is for the Discord. Hop in there today if you're not in there. We're going to be in there making money all spring and summer. So the winning doesn't stop with the NFL season. Make sure you join the Sharp app. Thanks for hanging and best of luck with your bets.